Electricity generation, Mamba Collieries is producing electricity, and of course, you talk about mining. The president's emphasis to the contractor was to expedite the works given the importance of that road, particularly now that that road is being used to ferry important equipment required for the completion of phase 2, Mamba Collieries thermal power plant, to produce another 300 megawatts to add to the 300 megawatts that they are already producing, so that we begin to meaningfully respond to the challenge of electricity deficit, to have a public engagement or meeting in a remote part of Choma Central Constituency, which is Mbole Secondary School. And it is the first time that a head of state visited that particular place to engage the community and get feedback on the impact of governmental projects on the community. On Wednesday, the president proceeded into Kalomo, where he was visiting his former school, which is Kalomo Secondary School, where he did his Form 1 to Form 5. And at Kalomo Secondary School, the president donated 1,251 mattresses, which is equivalent to the number of boarding students at that particular school. This donation was following one he had made the previous day at Mbole Secondary School, where the president donated to build a boarding house for girls, and he has given express instruction that that particular facility should be built with a great sense of urgency given its importance. After engaging the pupils, and the kernel or hallmark of his discourse with the students of Kalomo Secondary School was about hard work, focus, and discipline to ensure that they can succeed as well in future, just like he did, because he is one of them. He was a pupil or student at Kalomo Secondary School. The president proceeded to have a public meeting in Kalomo, and at that public meeting, the president's main emphasis was to encourage the farmers of Kalomo, given that Kalomo district produces more maize than any other district in the country, to focus on maize preservation by rekindling the idea of construction of maize barns, so that farmers, once they harvest, should not be quick to sell the maize. They should actually remember that we are now in these uncertain moments of climate change challenges, where the weather is unpredictable, and you need to preserve enough maize to oversee the food requirements at household level for the whole year before another harvest. The following day, the president took a break, but he was working on private issues. And on Friday, the president had a public engagement or public meeting in Choma, which saw record attendance. And that record attendance was as a result of the people coming to endorse the president for 2026 elections, because they came in a jubilant mood to come and show him that they do appreciate his work in the last 3.5 years or so that he has put in for this country, particularly given that this year many provinces were hit by this record drought, and people were worried given the history that they went through with previous drought and hunger situations in previous years, such as in 2019 and in 2015, where citizens, particularly in remote areas, were resorting to digging wild tubers and cooking wild tubers and roots for the sake of survival. For those who are urban, like some parts of Choma, since we are in Choma, such as Zambia compound, in 2019, they were treated to be fed on maize bran. That is what was being distributed. So, the citizens were worried about what this particular drought would mean if government was going to handle such matters as usual. And they came, therefore, in solidarity and confirmation that no one died out of hunger. And yes, that was the record drought we have experienced in living memory, but there was no evidence in real terms when you talk about household food situation, because the president had directed, which was executed, FRA, to take maize to the doorstep depots where the maize was initially purchased from, to ease accessibility of that maize by the citizens. And that saved the situation, worked well, and cut out the cost by the citizens to travel to centralized locations in search of the FRA community sales maize. The following day, Saturday, again, the president was in private activities, and on Sunday, the president was at State House, as we all know, and at Freedom Statue to commemorate the Africa Day. And the president, after that, Monday, made it back into Choma. That is yesterday. And today is Tuesday. So that is where the president is, and that is what your president has been doing. Initially, this was meant to be a private visit, given that during the Christmas, New Year holidays, the president was too busy that he could not take his usual holidays. So this was envisaged to be that opportunity to compensate for that holidays that were not taken up. But again, because of his work culture of work after work after work, the president has continued to work. He is in Choma, yes, but he's on duty at national level, as we have seen. So, just to reiterate, I'd like to indicate here that the public meetings that the president has been having have been centered around that the president has been preaching about peace and unity in this country, and the need for all of us as citizens to look at ourselves as a one people under the banner One Zambia, One Nation, and One Nation, One People. That is and has been his central theme at any engagement. The President has also been preaching about hard work, that hard work does not kill, but laziness does. And his message about hard work actually has already begun to bear greater and visible fruits. Because you can see that the citizens right across the nation have responded to his call to duty for hard work, to produce more food, to produce more maize. And this year, therefore, the government is projecting that we shall harvest about 3.2 million metric tons of maize, which is a record bumper harvest, and therefore is the right thing to happen as we graduate out of this drought year. And we thank God for that. The President used the occasion in touring this farming province to deliver a message of the need, like I've said, for food storage, so that we anticipate in advance what may happen next year. The President also took occasion at every public meeting to encourage citizens, all those who qualify to get NRCs, because an NRC is what defines you as a Zambian, and therefore opens doors to all opportunities that the government does provide to its citizens, such as cash for work, social cash transfer, and FRA, purchase of maize, and now, this particular time, sale of maize, or even hospital. It's an NRC. So the President has really been harping about this particular issue because it is it's of paramount importance. And also, it is crucial because this year is advent to a very major general election at which all eligible citizens are expected to exercise their franchise to vote through adult suffrage. And therefore, the President has been calling out on all citizens who qualify, not underage, who qualify, and that even those who were previously not given NRCs but are of age to get NRCs, for as long as there is evidence that they are Zambians, they are supposed to access that national identity document. The President took occasion on this particular tour to highlight various scores that this government has made, successes in short, and also challenges that his administration has faced in the last 3.5 years or so. So, the President took occasion to remind the citizens about his electoral commitments before he was elected as head of state. And in reminding the citizens, he is asking the citizens to make a checklist of what he has promised, what he has delivered, and what remains as work outstanding to be done in his second term from 2026 to 2031. And therefore, he has reminded the citizens that he promised to deliver free education. He has delivered. He promised that school-going children across the country should not sit on the floor. He has delivered CDF desk program, where now sitting on the floor is a thing of the past. President also highlighted on the importance of the school feeding program and the positive impact it has made in terms of school attendance by children, because they don't have to worry about hunger at school, which is also giving a huge relief to families in other ways. This is an indirect subsidy of home economics at household level. To this extent, President has reminded the nation that 2 million children have since 2 million children additional to the existing numbers have since gone back to school, responding to the free education policy, otherwise also called universal education program. The President has also spoken about and reminded the citizens that he had promised that once he is elected president, he will ensure that each constituency is allocated at least $1 million United States dollars equivalent in kwacha terms for CDF, and that he has delivered more than that. And today, CDF is a game changer. CDF is a frontline flagship career program of government development across the nation, anchored on a platform of decentralization whereby the citizens at local level are the ones who decide their developmental priorities, something which has been in the offing for many, many years, decades, but has now come to fruition under the leadership of President Hakainde Hichilema. President also took opportunity to remind the citizens of this country that the Cash for Work program, which his government realizes has had a major positive impact across the country, will continue despite the disaster and emergency situation coming to an end, which of course in terms of law has not yet been revoked. President has said even when the emergency disaster and emergency law is invoked, that is to say the nation is no longer under that kind of status, Cash for Work will continue, because for the very first time, many people, including those who have not been to school to require a certain skill or qualification or certificate to be employed, they can also now be employees of government and access to be paid government money across the country, anywhere, urban and rural. It is for the very first time that government is paying citizens at such a large scale, in addition to the traditional social cash transfer program, which continues to be in place. The President indicated to the citizens that he has delivered on the maternity wings that he had promised in many clinics through CDF, Police have also been equipped with Toyota Land Cruisers through CDF to respond to crime alerts. Every constituency has a CDF monitoring vehicle. Every constituency has procured an ambulance. Every local authority, particularly in suburb towns and remote-based constituencies and or districts, have purchased earth-moving equipment, enabling the local authorities now to provide the service for which traditionally they are supposed to have been providing to the citizens by grading feeder roads leading to hinterlands and allowing, therefore, enhanced connectivity between productive zones of our country and the marketplace and or linkage to the main trunk roads for en route and onward carriage of the produce to markets locally and internationally. President is delivering and continues so to do in terms of drilling of more boreholes to allow citizens access clean, safe drinking water. The President has reiterated and re-emphasized the need for this country to invest meaningfully into water harvesting and directed once more local authorities year in, year out, particularly in rural areas where there is ample opportunity to dam streams and rivers, that funds should be set aside so that in years of plenty of rain, we harvest the water and use it for irrigation in years of scarcity. The President also reminded the citizens that he has delivered on NAPSA. The President also took occasion to remind the citizens that the mines that were mining in courts, and many of them were dead, have since resurrected and are now in full-scale production, and we anticipate as a nation that by 2027, the economy coming out of mining activities will be there for all to see. And that is giving greater encouragement, because the mines are the backbone of the Zambian economy presently. The President also took time to remind citizens that Kabwe Mulungushi Textiles, which was dead for many years, has resurrected. The President also reminded citizens about some important infrastructure projects around the country that are being undertaken by his administration, such as Batoka Mamba Road, such as the dual carriageway, among others. The President also emphasized on the issue of the solar explosion program that he has instituted arising out of law reform, which has created open access regime or system allowing individual producers of solar power and any other power to be able to evacuate their power through the ZESCO grids and make it available to those who need it. And this is yielding greater results. It is anticipated that by December this year, the effect of the presidential solar explosion program will begin to bear greater fruit, because a number of solar grids will have been commissioned for commencement of production of power. We therefore, as government, are looking fervently to this taking place so that with or without sufficient rain, at least on the question of power and or electricity, the nation will be energy sufficient and energy secure. The President also reminded the nation that he had promised in opposition that once he is elected president, he will ensure that all retirees are paid, and he has delivered. A few who are remaining, particularly that we know as government, relate to a few parastatals such as ZAMPOST, the rest of public service workers, many who were not paid even for more than a decade or more than 10 years, have since been paid by this administration, but many retired many years ago, and previous administration did not pay them. The President also reminded the nation about the serenity of the peace that is reigning supreme at bus stops and markets, ending of political thuggery, hooliganism, cadreism, which we witnessed with the previous administration. The list is long, and in reminding the citizens that he has delivered on the many of these electoral commitments or promises he made, the President has now instituted a code word so that it is easier for the citizens to remind themselves that President HH has delivered by introducing a new vocabulary on the scene, political scene, kwenyu. Kwenyu means ilichongedwe. Like a teacher ticks when you get the answer correct. So on the promises that President HH made that he would deliver in government, he has delivered. So for those who are asking what does kwenyu means, it means ilichongedwe. It means he has delivered, he has got it right, and therefore the citizens now have seen social media has gone awash that yes, he has delivered and therefore deserves, without any shadow of doubt, a second term, because leadership should be about delivering to the citizens of this country and not to yourselves, and that citizens should continue to place premium on leadership, because leadership and running a country is serious business. Politics of deception, politics of name-calling, politics of woodwinking electorates only to go into government and begin to do things different from what you promised is over. And it is our sincere hope that the citizens of this country will give President HH another opportunity in 2026 to finish up on the work that he has embarked, so that by the time he is done in 2031, the country will definitely have changed. It will be different, and it will also be difficult for those vying for presidency to know that the leadership bar has been raised, that those who are jokers should leave this to serious people, because it is about the welfare of a country and the lives of its citizens. And once, as citizens, we reach that level where we place the highest premium on leadership, people who are joking around the question of wanting to grace public office will begin to have a second thought, because these are not games. This is serious business, If you get the wrong people into office, remember, you have 5 years stuck with those people. You cannot do anything to remove them. And they can sink a country down the way we saw what happened with the previous administration, leading now to what the president reminded the nation as what was his greatest challenge when he came into office. The debt stock, which was crippling the economy of this country to a level where we were de facto a junk economy by November 2020, when Zambia could no longer manage to pay its balance of payment responsibilities and therefore became a country in debt default. And the president, through his tenacity and hard work, commitment to duty, and also that he has exemplified leadership anchored on caliber of trustworthiness, and that he is a man of action, and that he does not waste public resources. The international community to whom Zambia borrowed money accepted to do debt restructuring when new. So it's very important for citizens to be able to take account of these many milestones that as a country we've gone through, because we did at one time have a sitting government that when President HH was saying, I'll come and offer free education, they were saying it's not possible. Where will he find money? As we are in government here, we can't even dream of offering free education. There is no money. They even went to an extent of withdrawing meal allowances from students at public universities. And when President HH said, I'll reinstate meal allowances to students at public universities, they said, where will he find the money? The president has delivered on that score, therefore, to manage and attain debt restructuring, which they had said when they were in office that was a mission impossible, that it was not possible that the creditors would agree to do debt restructuring. And now those people are in government. President HH has delivered. And now that leaves me to answer those people who I have seen, or we have seen, who are saying the constitutional amendments are meant for the preservation of President HH to win a second term. Let me be clear on this particular matter, that the 13 limited and targeted constitutional amendments that have now been codified into Bill number 7 of 2025 have got nothing whatsoever to do with the preservation of President HH as president in 2026 going forward. President HH will win easily and with a much bigger landslide victory in 2026 on account of these things that he promised to do and has delivered, and the nation can see that the country is changing right in front of their eyes. The constitutional amendments have got nothing to do with the re-election of President HH. The re-election of President HH is anchored on the things that he promised and has delivered, as we have all witnessed with our own eyes, and can now rightfully begin to imagine already a better future coming for this country. So those who are saying President HH wants to amend the Constitution, I think that the fairer way to say is that those statements are highly misplaced, they are malicious, vexatious, fallacious, and obnoxious, meant to mislead unsuspecting citizens that constitutional amendments have a hidden agenda. There is no hidden agenda whatsoever relating to and in respect with the proposed 13 constitutional amendments. And I understand when these statements are coming from those who were in government, the previous administration, because them, therefore, then had a hidden agenda through Bill 10. And I want to remind the nation that in orchestrating Bill 10, the previous administration of Patriotic Front began by enacting the National Dialogue Forum Act, wherein they put provisions targeting President HH as an individual, as leader of the opposition, and also targeting the members of parliament of the opposition. That two provisions: any person who stops a member of parliament from attending the National Dialogue Forum meeting commits an offense and on conviction is liable to 2 years. They also made another provision to say any member of parliament scorns attendance at National Dialogue Forum commits an offense and is liable on conviction to 2 years imprisonment. They passed that law using the arrogance of numbers in parliament, but when we stayed away, they could not effectuate that because they realized that the courts will not entertain such kind of mockery because it was unconstitutional. So that is how evil they are in their mindset. And so when they look at themselves, they think that we are like them. We are not. And President HH has demonstrated in ways more than one that he is different. For instance, when